We all love Christmas, right? It's the most wonderful time of the year. But for some of us, Christmas will be remembered as a true horror scene. Can you imagine? Tonight, dear listener, we will take you on a voyage through the stories of 4 people stuck in some sticky situations during Christmas. Be prepared for some scary Christmas stories you will remember for the rest of your holidays. Masked killers, people who have risen from the dead, and dark Christmas rituals. Settle in, dear listener. It is going to be a rather spooky ride. Welcome to your next Chills Before Sleep. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe for us to provide you with more scary stories. Don't forget to enable all notifications to join our weekly cash giveaway pinned in the comments section. Tia was hiding under her bed to escape from the masked intruder. There was a nervous calm all over her room, like the calm before a storm. That's when she heard footsteps coming from the hallway. He was there, and he was about to end her. She could also hear a thud sound like something was being dragged. The door to her house opened, and she could see a large man with a hockey mask on his face. He was carrying the limp dead body of her brother. She put a hand on her mouth to muffle a scream. The masked intruder did not seem to notice her. He proceeded to one of the walls. He used her brother's blood and he wrote something on the wall. Tia looked at the writing and let out a shriek after she read it. "I know you're out there." All the kids screamed as Tony concluded his story. "Now I think that's enough," I said as I glared at Tony. Tony was my cousin, but he could get really intense sometimes, and he had a habit of scaring the young ones. The young ones I'm referring to are my Aunt Teresa and Uncle William's 4-year-old triplets, Augustus, June, and May. Tony was my Uncle Thomas's single child. His mother had left him after his birth, so it was just the 2 of them. Uncle Thomas and Uncle William were my father's brothers, and we often spent Christmas together. My older brother Sam had gone off to college this year and said that he couldn't make it this year. I was rather bummed out because I missed him. We had all gathered at my Uncle William's new cabin this year to celebrate Christmas. Tonight, all my uncle and aunts were going to go Christmas shopping along with Tony, and I was going to stay with the kids. My mother spoke with me before setting out, and she gave me the usual instructions. Lock the door and windows, keep your cousins in the same room, the usual. My parents planted a kiss on my cheek as they left, asking me to stay safe. Tony, on the other hand, was just glad that he wasn't the one who had to stay and take care of the little ones. After the family went away, I locked all the doors and windows, and I took my cousins to the upstairs bedrooms, which had the CCTV feed of the whole house being broadcasted on a TV. I was playing with my cousins when I heard a noise coming from downstairs. I checked the CCTV footage, only to see static. I was confused. Had someone broken into the house? I didn't want my cousins to get upset, so I told them that we were going to play a game of hide and seek. "You should go hide in the closet, and don't come out till you hear me asking you to come out," I told them as I opened up the closet for them. They entered it with a giggle as I put my finger on my lips, asking them to be silent. I decided to hide under the bed, in the same room. I had my phone with me and I was about to call the police when I heard footsteps in the hallway. The door opened with a thud, and I could make out the figure of a large man entering the room. He had a ski mask on, and in his hand was a big hammer. I put my hand over my mouth to stop any noises which may escape. That's when a taller man entered the room. He wasn't as built as the man with the mask, but he jumped on top of him with a large knife in his hand. He stabbed him in his arm repeatedly, making the hammer fall out of his hand. The man with the mask fell to the ground, and the tall man sat on top of him as he called the police. I could finally see his face. It was Sam, my brother. "Sam!" I yelled as I climbed out. "Valerie!" he said as he hugged me, the large man still groaning under him. "Sammy, can we come out?" said our cousins from inside the closet. By the time the police arrived, my family was already back from shopping. It turned out that the large man had broken into our home to rob us, but Sam had come just in time and saved us. The large man had drugs in his system, and he had come with an intention of removing any barrier that came in his way. In this situation, it would have been me and my little cousins. My brother truly came in just in time and saved the day. I was grateful for my brother, and I was happy to have him home on the holidays. But I don't think I will ever forget the Christmas that a crazy intruder almost killed me and my cousins. My name is Jan, and this story took place last year, close to my grandfather's death. We had all started seeing him after he died, starting with me, and then my mom. My mom used a special ritual suggested by my aunt to make my father see my grandpa's spirit. My grandfather had been a Buddhist all his life, but he had loved celebrating Christmas with his grandchildren because it was a holiday we could all enjoy together. My family is of East Asian descent, but we had moved to the US a decade ago with my grandfather after my little sister was born. My grandfather passed away last year due to COVID-related complications. My mother had initially said that we will not be celebrating Christmas due to my grandfather's death, but my father urged her not to do it because my grandfather loved Christmas. "It would be like our last Christmas together," said my father with tears in his eyes, and my mother agreed. My grandfather's funeral was only 3 days before Christmas. The first night after his funeral was weird for me because I had started seeing apparitions. I could vaguely see a white figure floating across my room. I shouted my grandfather's name out loud. I started shouting in Chinese, and I called for my parents. They ran into my room, scared, but there was no apparition anymore. They did not believe me, and they just went back to their room to sleep. On the second night, there was a big bang on the window of our living room. It scared my mom and I. We both began screaming in terror. My father ran into the living room. Then suddenly there was a loud bang on the front door, and my mom told my father not to open it. "There's father outside," she said with the limited English that she had acquired in the States. My father did not listen to her and opened up the door anyway. To all our surprise, there was indeed no one out there. "He was just there," said my mother. "He's here. Please believe me." But my father refused to. "I can't believe what I can't see," he insisted. Then my mother called up to my aunt for further advice. She wanted to prove that my grandfather was still haunting them. That night, she took some boiled eggs, my grandfather's favorite, and put them near the doorstep. The next morning was Christmas Day. We were awoken to find Christmas presents under the tree. It was a pleasant Christmas like any other, but my mother let out a shriek when she went back to check on the boiled eggs. There were bite marks in the boiled eggs. Not only that, but the bite marks were completely bloody as well. This for sure proved the fact that my grandfather's ghost was still with us. Not only that, but there were plumeria flowers in front of the fireplace, which my grandfather knew were my mother's favorite. There was no paranormal activity again. I was initially very scared when all this happened, but now I'm a year older and I feel happy that my grandfather came to visit us again, for one last time. The plumeria flowers that he left for my mother felt like a last Christmas gift to his daughter. Years may pass, but I don't think I will ever forget the Christmas that my grandfather came to visit us from beyond the grave. "Mommy, Desmond pulled at my ponytails again," complained my sister. "Desmond," yelled my mom, but I was not going to come out of hiding. I'm Desmond, and I love to mess with my sister. Who wouldn't? All kids are a bit mischievous. So am I. I knew my mother would yell at me for messing with my sister again, so I decided I wouldn't come out of the forest till my mother calmed down a little. I knew I would be worrying my parents by hiding in the forest, but I wasn't about to go out and be yelled at by my parents. I roamed around in the forest for a while. It was the forest around our vacation home. We had traveled here to spend Christmas away from the stresses of the city. I found a comfortable spot near a tree, and I closed my eyes. I soon fell asleep. When I woke up, it was way darker. The forest was very quiet. I stood up and decided to walk back to the house. I remembered the path. I walked, but I felt like I could not actually reach the house. I walked and walked for hours. I couldn't find the backyard again. I was starting to get scared. That's when I saw a cave. There was a crackling noise inside the cave. Someone had lit a fire in there. I went inside the cave. A figure sat down by the fire with a large cloak on it.
"Lost, are you?"
I nodded and said a soft, "Yes."
"Tell me, how have you been this year?"
He asked as he tapped the rock beside him, beckoning me to come and sit next to him. I did so. "What do you mean, sir?" I asked him.
"I mean, have you been naughty, Desmond?"
He said with a cackle. I was getting creeped out. The figure then started standing up, and his head touched the ceiling of the tall cave. I was scared at the moment. This figure was no ordinary man. His cloak fell to reveal brown fur-covered skin. He had the cloven horns and hooves of a goat. I was horrified at the moment. Whatever I was seeing was not human, that was for sure. "Krampus?" I said, and he laughed.
"Is that what you mortals have been calling me now?"
Before I could do anything, he grabbed my throat and raised me up. My legs started flailing under me. I tried to scratch his hand to get him to drop me.
"Tell me, you are but a child. Are you sorry?"
He asked me as he raised my hoodie, revealing my abdomen. "Yes, I'm sorry," I screamed desperately.
"Then go and change,"
he said as he scratched up my belly. I cried out in pain as I fainted. I woke up to my father shaking me awake. My mother was crying her eyes out. My family was relieved to see me up. I apologized to my sister as soon as I woke up. My father told me he found me sleeping near a tree in the forest. I thought that the whole meeting with Krampus was nothing more than just a dream, but then when I went to the bathroom, I saw scars on my neck and torso. So it really happened. I've been trying to be good ever since this incident happened. Now Christmas is approaching again, and I'm scared that the creature will come visit me again. I'm Miles, and my family has a very weird tradition. Every Christmas, the whole family had to spend the day inside the house. Otherwise, one of our family members would die. That's what I've been told all my life, and I knew better than to question it. This year I plan on taking my girlfriend Eva to the family reunion as well. She was pregnant, and we were planning to announce it at the dinner table. I traveled to my house with her on Christmas Eve. I was greeted by my Aunt Kendra. "Oh, hello, Miles," she said with a smile. She looked at Eva and asked, "Well, is that your lovely bride?" We both blushed. "No, not yet," I said. "Well then, she can't be here." Our faces instantly fell. "What do you mean? I just want her to be a part of our family," I protested. But Aunt Kendra just shook her head and told me to take Eva to a motel or something. She slammed the door on our faces. I called my mother, but she regurgitated what Aunt Kendra had said. I had no choice. I took Eva to a motel and I told her I'd be back on the 26th. She was upset with me, but I had to go. It was a very, very important tradition. Christmas Eve ended like it always did with the family. A lot of talking, food, and laughter, but I kept calling Eva every other hour to make sure she was okay. On Christmas Day, I tried to sneak out of the house to go visit Eva, but my mother caught me and scolded me. She reminded me of the family tradition, and I stayed. I called Eva, and she was understandably upset with me, but I tried my best to reassure her that the new year would have me being all hers. The day of Christmas went smoothly. I still got a lot of gifts from my aunts and uncles, even some cousins who were old enough. That's what I get for being from a big family. I couldn't stop myself from dreaming about how loved and cared for my future child with Eva would be. Such a big family loving a new member. I thought I would tell them the day after Christmas, when Eva would finally be allowed in the house. We sat at the kitchen table and watched the clock tick by. As the clock struck 12, something happened. Aunt Kendra fell from her chair. She started clutching her throat. She was suffocating as we watched. Her husband and kids tried to help her out, but none could. I called 911, but my aunt was dead before I could even tell them the address. "How could this happen?" yelled my uncle, clutching the body of his deceased wife in his arms. "Don't we have the whole family here?" "Miles," yelled my mother as she clutched my collar. "What have you done? Did you go ahead and marry a woman in secret?" She was enraged. "No," I protested. "But Eva and I are going to be parents." All of my family stopped dead in their tracks and looked at me as I made this admission. "Oh, you fool!" screamed one of my uncles. "The whole family isn't here because your unborn child is not here." I was about to start crying right then. I wanted to scream in frustration. This was supposed to be happy news, but everybody was just upset with me at the moment. "Look, Miles," said my mother as she calmed down again. "Your great-grandmother was an old witch. She had 7 children, and all of them left her when she was older in the search for a better life. She spent her last Christmas alone. None of her children even called, and ever since then, we had to bear the weight of the family's curse. All the family needs to be in the old family house on Christmas, or one member of the family will die." I was horrified to learn all of this, and I still couldn't believe that I had led my aunt to her death. It has been almost a year since Aunt Kendra's death. Soon, Eva and I will be visiting the family house again with my son, Evan. Eva will take her place there as my bride. I still have not fully gotten over the loss of my aunt, and part of me feels like my uncle and cousins loathe me for what happened. I will join them this year to make sure the curse doesn't take away more victims, and I will make sure to teach Evan about the seriousness of the curse, lest we lose another family member. Thank you for watching this video. Have you experienced a similar situation or another scary experience? Don't hesitate to submit your story by email or in the comments section down below. Ready for your next chills before sleep? Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe for us to provide you with more scary stories. Let us know what you think, and don't forget to enable all notifications. Be the first one to get the chills.